Nothing goes as planned in Charlie McDowell's indie home invasion movie Windfall. A burglar named Nobody has broken into the vacation house of a tech industry tycoon, hoping to find the secret stash. Meanwhile, the CEO and wife arrive for a spontaneous retreat at the chalet. After grabbing the expensive Rolex watch that belongs to the CEO, Nobody is about to run away. However, the problem arises when the wife discovers Nobody, and now he cannot let them leave. The bragging CEO bears open his secret stash, but Nobody comes to realize that he can squeeze more with a little more effort. In essence, Nobody is a thief of principles, but Nobody does not hesitate to raise hell with a gun in his stride. Although, he does not seem like a killer. Windfall suggests that no one is a criminal until the circumstances arise. With a shoestring budget, the film creates an enticing ambience with the help of its dynamic cast ensemble and a taut script. However, you may want to know what goes down in the shocking final minutes. In that case, let us indulge. A burglar, called Nobody, seems to be having a good time at a vacation home in the middle of an orange grove. He takes a leak in the bathroom, breaks a glass, and spends time by the pool. After inspecting the cupboard and drawers, he finds an expensive Rolex watch and a gun. Meanwhile, the arrogant CEO, the property owner, reaches the scene with his wife, hoping to spend some time in isolation. While Nobody finds some dough in the office, the CEO and wife walk through the front door. The CEO nags about there not being flowers, although he asked April, his assistant, specifically for some flowery decoration. While exploring the house, the wife catches a glimpse of Nobody, and from there, the story takes a southward turn. The CEO wants to alleviate the situation, promising to reward Nobody with a secret stash hidden in the kitchen. The burglary is only a scratch in the wealth of the billionaire businessman, and he is happy to help the man out. With $10,000 to $15,000 worth of money, watch, and jewelry in his pocket, Nobody makes a run. While CEO and wife agree to comply, Nobody cannot trust them. Therefore, locking them in the sauna, Nobody gets to his car, but he discovers a security camera in the nick of time. By the time he returns to the house, the CEO and wife have fled their captivity, since Nobody forgot to lock the sauna door. Nobody realizes that he can squeeze more from the billionaire, while the CEO asks his wife to seduce Nobody. With the arrival of the gardener on the scene, the story veers further off the cliff. Why does the wife kill Nobody? Nobody seems like a person who would not hurt a fly. However, life has seemingly cornered him in a position where he would be desperate enough to pull off the robbery. The CEO deduces that Nobody worked in one of the multitudes of companies the CEO owns. Towards the end of the story, Nobody seconds the CEO's suspicion he was possibly an employee who was laid off under constrained circumstances. With enough calm and composure, Nobody almost pulls off the robbery. The CEO and Nobody agree upon a number, and Nobody decides $500,000 as the ransom money. Seemingly, the CEO's ex-partner, for lack of a better term, Debbie, fell into a similar problem. Thus, the CEO's assistant, April, gathers the money on such short notice. Meanwhile, as an escape plan, the CEO asks the wife to seduce Nobody. The seduction does not amount to anything, except for an increased amount of hatred in the wife's mind for the CEO. Nobody is particularly interested in the erased tattoo on the wife's feet. The money arrives late on the second day. Nobody attempts to flee the scene with the money, while the CEO and wife remain tied to the chair. The wife shares with Nobody that the tattoo on her foot was of a rose, and that she loved it. The suggestion is that she had to get rid of the tattoo because of her overbearing husband. However, Nobody cannot care less. He even walks to the CEO to divulge that his wife had birth control pills in her purse. According to Nobody's reading of the situation, the wife has cheated on the CEO. While the birth control pills in her bag do not automatically make the wife a cheater, her hatred for her husband is apparent. Maybe she wants to flee with Nobody, leaving her husband, which would give her freedom and possibly a cut from $500,000. Nobody wants to keep it all for himself, but the wife has secured a piece of glass from the accident involving the gardener. She frees herself, picks up the weird-looking showpiece, and smashes it on Nobody's head until he dies. Nobody dies for sure, but what about the CEO? Is the CEO dead? Why does the wife kill him? After killing nobody in cold blood, the wife enters back in the room, heading to the kitchen where her husband is still tied. The CEO is ecstatic at his wife's achievement, since he did not expect the seemingly empathetic wife to pull off a murder. Now, the CEO expects his wife to untie him so that they can happily go back home. However, a final shock awaits him. The wife points the gun at him. As the CEO asks, "Are you gonna shoot me?" the wife puts 3 bullets in him. We initially think nobody would assail the CEO, but the unexpected turn of events makes us drop our jaw. The CEO has a controlling and manipulative demeanor. Initially, he is calm but plays a big part in the story's escalation. While the CEO is with the wife, she has only one identity. The wife. She may also be abhorrent of Debbie's absent presence, as she may have had to face comparisons. While asking for money from his assistant, the CEO says that they are in a Debbie situation. Moreover, she feels like a changed person while in the marriage, always obedient to her husband's whims. The rose tattoo may be one of the examples of the discarding of her past. Although, nobody reminds her that she has made a treaty. In the course of the story, she comes to see the gendered picture, and one can say that she is fed up with women being victims in similar movies. Therefore, she regains control of the story and emerges the final killer. The CEO dies in the process of the wife's self-discovery, and the wife makes it look like nobody did it. Covering all the leads, the wife walks out into the darkness with the money. She is finally free from the clutches of men, be it an nagging husband or a burglar with trust issues. However, as darkness engulfs her vision, we are unsure whether she manages to escape the police and reach safety. Nobody's death remains unaccounted for. Thus, there remains a slight chance that the police will catch her, especially with her fingerprints over the ivory showpiece. However, as she has all the money, we figure that she may travel to another country. Windfall is a thriller drama that unfolds at a tech billionaire's vacation villa. Drinking juice and smashing the glass, we watch a man walk through the property. Even though initially the audience is unaware of the man's intention, it becomes clear when his escape is interrupted by the tech billionaire and his wife, who wanted to spend some quality time together. He planned to enjoy the property and take whatever he could get his hands on, but as man's unending greed would have it, he ended up spending much of his time collecting cash, and eventually, he found a gun as well. Confronted by the property owners, the story takes a turn, and the three characters end up spending an excruciating amount of time together. The three characters are quite simple to decipher. The tech billionaire, played by Jesse Plemons, complained about how difficult it was to be a rich white American man, as the whole world seemed to be waiting for him to make a single mistake. He was a proud man for having achieved it all with his capabilities, and he despised those who did nothing but complain about the way the world worked. To summarize, he simply was blind to the privilege that he was born with, and was not interested in learning about the larger social problems. There was a particular moment when he spoke about how people who were fired from his company had the feeling that the owner owed them something. He was repulsed by this notion of owing his ex-employees monetary benefit. He believed that they were too lazy to find another job. Throughout the Windfall, the man tried to instigate the robber to discuss his economic condition, trying to emerge as the charitable figure who helped a helpless man in need. The robber, played by Jason Segel, entered the property to live the life of a billionaire for a few hours. By gorging on oranges picked up freshly from the orange trees in the garden, taking a piss in the shower, and just lazily moving across the vastness. The fact that the man does not belong in the space is established when he starts to clean the doorknobs. He simply wanted to grab the cash that was left lying around at the property. But when he spotted the security camera, he knew his day would turn out to be different. Even though the couple promised to help him, he always found them tricking him one way or another. It was just like another person from the corporate who initially seems helpful but, in reality, tries to find ways to use the situation to their advantage. We never get to know much about his person. Was he an ex-employee who believed that the company owed him for his loss, or just another human being who was just tired of the economic inequality that resides in our society? Such questions are left unanswered. The wife was a young woman who superficially seemed to enjoy the luxury she was surrounded by. She boasted about the charitable organization she headed. She tried to establish that the work she did was valuable in the real world. Perhaps it was her way of telling herself that her contribution holds value, and she is not a mere puppet in the hands of her husband and his company. The wife struggled with her identity. She wanted to believe that she was more than just the wife of a rich businessman. As she spoke about her work, her husband was quick to add that she would take an advisory role as soon as she gets pregnant. Therefore, even though she preferred living in denial, her husband controlled her life. To save himself, the husband was ready to pimp his wife to the robber. The wife spoke about her fears to the robber when her husband was asleep. She was lured by the wealth. Marrying the tech billionaire meant that her life would be sorted, and she would not have to live a life of uncertainty. On the day of their marriage, she felt as if she stood in front of a line. A step towards the altar would result in a life of certainty and comfort, and a step away meant uncertainty. She chose the known path, the one that was less adventurous but safe. She knew that her husband did not think highly of her, she was just another accessory in his perfect life. Their marriage was a marriage of convenience. She took contraceptive pills to avoid pregnancy, while he hoped to become a father. The man knew that the wife was weak and would not escape given a chance, and she proved him right. When she stepped outside to bring in the money, she chose to not risk her life and scream for help. As the man was about to leave with the cash, she mentioned the tattoo she had on her feet, a rose tattoo, which she loved dearly but had removed. The man did not care, and he made it quite evident. This triggered the wife. She could relate to the man but was taken aback when he, too, pushed her aside. She was simply tired of how people treated her. She was always assumed to be someone incapable of taking a drastic step. She was frustrated with herself, frustrated making the right logical choices always. The need to rise and break free overpowered her logical mind, and she did the unexpected in the end. This path was risky, uncertain, troubling, but this path was freeing. Windfall tries to comment on social and economic hierarchies, but does so without significant depth. It ends up becoming an attempt and not much of a success. After an hour into the film, it almost becomes a drag. The climax results in an extremely dramatic turn that did not have a clear build-up. In all honesty, Windfall felt like a pretentious attempt at narrating a rather average story.